Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is your co-host, Ben Dickerson. The divisional championship round is over. Great football, as expected, coming into the conference championships. Some people say these are the best games and the most important and competitive games of the entire season, especially for the fans watching. So we'll soon see.
All right, Benny, both games are scheduled for Sunday. Today is Wednesday, January 20th. It's Inauguration Day. So it's Ben and Barry on football on Inauguration Day. And we're going to follow our normal schedule, which I'm going to get ready to move to. But before we do that, let's talk about the numbers. How did we do last week on the Bias Plus reports and the Dickerson reports? Huh?
Okay, well, I stuck my neck out last week and it cost me a little bit, but I was still proud of my picks. And again, I felt strongly about those picks, to tell you the truth. And I was only surprised by one, which the Bias lost also. That was the Saints game. And I felt that the Browns had as good a chance to win as anybody that weekend, but they just didn't come through. So I was 2-2, 50%. And, like I said, I lost the Saints game. I also lost on the Browns. The spread was also 2-2, 50%.
Really?
Did I put down? Yeah, I forgot to put the numbers down, but I believe let me see, the Chiefs spread was too big. So they lost that one. And so what was the close game?
Saints game?
22-17. So the Chiefs spread was like a -10. So the spread lost that one. And the 17-3 game, I believe that
Baltimore Ravens, Bills?
Right. Yeah. What was the spread in that game, doggone it? 17-6. It wasn't. I think it was in Baltimore's favor.
Was it really?
I believe so. But either way, the spread 1-2, they lost 2. It's 50%. But as usual, and almost always, the Bias Plus came through. 3-1, 75% for the Bias Plus. Excellent job. Excellent.
Sometimes the bias is right, and I think to myself, it had nothing to do with me. Just the way the numbers came out, I can't even claim anything. Like, I can't claim no ego. I can't say, what I thought.
It's funny because I know you believe in the Bias Plus, as I do also. And I know that you kind of invented the whole concept of the net point power rankings and all that stuff. So you feel good about that. But the other thing is, as we go through each game, you only report what the Bias Plus is, but you never say, I think this team's going to win or I think that team's going to win. But I know you're thinking it. You just don't know. So
it's funny. I don't even say that on my blog. When I do a write-up on a matchup, I don't say who I think is going to win in any of that. I just try to present as much angles of thought, as I can that I think are interesting, and leave it at that. Because you don't know. It's a flip of a coin. I mean, you and I have sat here and watched the bias look great, and then some particular week it's 40-some%. We're like, what the heck just happened? But that's the fun of it, because it's all a grand experiment, like we always say. And then you see sometimes teams flip things and they make moves and they make challenges. So, I think that's kind of the fun of watching it. And when someone says that, a team is an underdog, well, we actually have that quantified. We know who the underdog is, why they're that underdog, And that's not just because of my opinion or my conjecture, although it might be in your case, because you get to have opinion and
it is in
conjecture.
my case. It absolutely is in my case. Let's face it. I could have went with the chalk and just took the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Nobody would have been mad at me. But that Saints game, and then I'm like, dang, they crashed and burned again in the playoffs again. And I'm thinking this was the year that they were going to come through. But hey, what are you going to do?
The
I
Saints
could have
game,
just had that one loss.
I asked this question on social media. How much did the Saints miss Taysom Hill? What do you think?
I don't think that was. I'm not going to say they didn't miss him, because obviously he brings an element to the game that a lot of teams just don't have. I think Drew Brees actually played poorly. To tell you the truth, I mean they picked him 3 times. A couple of them were bad, and Kamara couldn't really get going. That was pretty much it for them. The defense played well, but couldn't keep them in it.
I kind of
Bottom
feel
line is,
like
got to
the
put up points.
Taysom Hill factor is almost, again, if you don't have Lamar or you don't have Josh, you got Taysom Hill. You can always put him in, and as soon as he comes in the game, the whole defense has to go, okay, what's going on now? Even if Drew is in there, and if he's not in there, it's the same question. It really throws a thought monkey wrench into the defense. And I think that that's so helpful. And if you don't have that, now the first time we saw those guys play, Drew Brees was the picture of efficiency. I mean, the short passing game was clicking on that defense, but it didn't happen now. And now they're talking about retirement for Drew Brees, even though he hasn't said anything. So, all right, that's enough talk about last week. Let's look at the power rankings. And let me say, Benny, again, being that this is an experiment, sometimes I was wondering, I'm like, okay, should I put up the entire league, with the rankings? Because the one thing that's interesting when you look at the entire league is you see where even the final 4 will fall relative to net points in the total ranking. It generally is not 1, 2, 3, 4. It might be 1, 2, 6, 8. You know what I mean? Because as you remember with the Browns, they were net point 0, so they were like in the middle of the pack, right below, because net points again can go from positive to negative. And so that's one aspect of it. But looking at television and looking at some of the other rankings, they basically did it the way we're going to do it, which is just those teams that are actually in it right now. So, that's how that's going to work. That's how we're going to kick this thing off. So let's get ready to go with the Net Point Power Rankings. Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings for January 19th, 2021. Again, we are looking at averages. And, it's interesting when you look at these 4 teams. I think the key phrase I used last week was parity. Woo! I mean, first of all, very interesting. At number 4, Kansas City, net point 6.8. Number 3, Buffalo at 7.9. And your top 2 are your NFC representatives, Tampa Bay at 8.6 and Green Bay at 9.1 points per, or net points per game. Okay. Net points is that differential between points for and points against. So if you score 15 and you give up 10, your net is 5. And these are averages that are going all the way back to the beginning of the season. And for these teams, also taking into account the playoffs. So they're all averaged in. And again, they have to be averaged because those teams that got the bye were a different number, had a different number of games played. So we wanted to make sure that we made it as equitable as possible, and that's through averages. So NP stands for net points. The next column over is points for. There is your scoring champ, the same as your net point champ, Green Bay at 35.7. Tampa Bay's 0.7 behind them, Ben, and at second place. Buffalo's coming in at 33.3 points per game. And what is this with Kansas City and scoring coming in fourth at averaging 20 points per game. That just looks so weird to me. Tampa Bay, in terms of defense, is coming in first, but Benny, from first to fourth, Tampa Bay in 1, Kansas City 2, Buffalo 3, and Green Bay 4th. Between the 4 of them, the differential is 0.7, less than 1 point on average relative to defense. So there's not a lot that you can draw from defensively when you're looking at these teams. And then Todd, my favorite person, turnover differential. Again, pretty equitable. I mean, you figure top to bottom 0.4 turnover differential per game. Tampa Bay 1, Kansas City 2, Green Bay 3, but they're tied at 0.4, and Buffalo in last place at 0.3. So I'm not seeing a whole bunch there. So offensively, man, the biggest differential is between the top team, well, really the top 3 teams, and Kansas City. Kansas City has had some struggles. So that's the quick overview of your 4 remaining teams and the rankings based on net points, points for, points against, and turnover differential. Sir, what do you got?
Very interesting. So I'm going to go from right to left, and I'm going to look at turnover differential first. And Tampa Bay had a really big game just last week. Okay, they had 3 interceptions, excuse me, and a fumble recovery. So if they weren't in first place, that was enough to put them there. I think Kansas City also got a couple of turnovers in the last game. Moving over to points against, like you said, it's really, really close. Each team has a strength and a weakness. The strength may not be gigantic. The weakness may not be terrible. They're all sitting right in the same place defensively. I mean, I could say, well, Green Bay's not so good against the run, or Kansas City's secondary is a little tricky. But the differences are so small, it really is going to depend on the matchup. Now, points for, that's a little different. So the last few games of the season, Kansas City really wasn't putting up big numbers. And in fact, they were in quite a few close games. And when I say close, they may have seemed to be in control through the entire game, but they were giving up enough points to make it, challenging near the end of games, regardless of who they were playing, good teams or not so good teams. But Green Bay has excelled over the last few weeks and into the playoffs. Tampa Bay and Buffalo kind of sitting right in the middle where they kind of should be, doing pretty much what was expected of them as far as scoring is concerned. When I look at the net point column, that's where I start to look and see if I can figure out who's going to be in the Super Bowl. So you can't have 2 NFC teams in the Super Bowl, so it can't be number 1 and number 2. So it has to be 1 and 3, or 1 and 4, or 2 and 3, or 2 and 4. I tell you, even the rankings are going to hold me hostage all the way to the end. This is crazy, but this is how good these Final 4 are, and it's anybody's ball game.
Man, you're so right about that, Benny. So right about that. All right. Let's see what we have next here. After the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, we look at the matchups. The matchups are based on the Net Point Power Rankings. So let's do for instance, since I still have the rankings up here. If Green Bay were playing Tampa Bay, they actually are. Then on a net point basis, I'm looking at the differential and saying it favors the team with the greater net points. Same thing for turnover differential. When you look at both of those put together, you have what's called the bias plus report. Now, let me see if I can do this right. Bam! Bias plus reports. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Green Bay Packers. Bias plus score, Ben.
Yeah.
0.2.
0.2. Can't get much closer than that.
0.2 favors the Green Bay Packers. It's the Battle of the Bays. 0.2 is as close as you can get. You have two quarterbacks who are just on top of their game right now. And fundamentally, the Tampa Bay led on the turnover differential, and that's what mitigated that favor, the net point favor that Green Bay had. So, now some of that may be skewed by the Drew Brees.
Yeah, yeah.
My son being a Green Bay Packer fan, Chris, Savant Jeans. I said, he said I congratulated him on the win, and he said, yeah, well now we gotta see Tom Brady, and I said, well, the one thing that the Buccaneers defense is going to see is much better arm talent and mobility than what they had to deal with Drew Brees. So that Aaron Rodgers arm is, I think that thing is peaking right about now, man. He's delivering balls, and he's thinking the game within that offense at a really high level. So this is going to be an absolutely amazing matchup.
Yeah, it will be. And let me just say this. Some people are questioning whether, in fact, the Buccaneers won the game or whether, in fact, the Saints lost the game. Like I said, Drew Brees didn't have his best day. Michael Thomas didn't catch a pass. That's not good. Okay. And yeah, Brees threw 3 interceptions. So, but I don't want to talk about them because they lost and they're not in it. Let's talk about the Buccaneers. Tom Brady didn't have a great day. He was 18 of 33, only 199 yards. He did throw 2 touchdown passes. He also had a 1-yard quarterback sneak. Oh, I anointed Tom Brady the best quarterback sneaker in NFL history.
He is good, isn't he?
He does that better than anybody. And
I've actually seen the NFL did one of their little things where they study the motion in terms of physics and on a Tom Brady sneak, and as to why he's so good at it. So, it is interesting. You absolutely hit on that.
Well, I'm not exactly sure when it was, if it was last season or the season before, but he has actually accumulated 1,000 yards rushing over all the years that he's playing. He finally hit 1,000 yards rushing, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so he did in fact account for 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. But other than that, over the course of the game, they kind of struggled to move the ball a little bit. Let's face it, the Saints defense is pretty good. They gave him some trouble. I don't know if it was Marshawn Lattimore that actually shut Michael Thomas down, but he did not catch a pass, which is crazy. Ronald Jones had 13 carries for 62 yards. Now, Ronald Jones had pretty much ascended to the number 1 running back position. There was a time there where Leonard Fournette was kind of in the doghouse, it seemed, and he wasn't getting many carries. And then Jones got hurt. And then and then Fournette seemed to play pretty well. They blamed the reoccurrence of the quad injury that Jones had on the plane ride. Something about swelling and cabin pressure in the airplane gave him some trouble. So he was able to play better in this game, but he still wasn't himself. In fact, I think he had a long run and then took himself out of the game and kind of walked around on the sidelines a little bit and came back. So we're not sure about him being 100% for next week's game. Leonard Fournette, however, did get 17 carries for 63 yards, which was very good. He also caught 5 passes for 44 yards, and he caught a pass for a touchdown. So that was good. So their run game seems to be pretty much intact as long as Ronald Jones can survive this week of practice and be productive on Sunday. The problem was, and you wouldn't think about this as being a problem, with the receiving corps that I've been praising for the last month, okay, and Tom Brady. Mike Evans only had 3 targets. He only had 1 catch. Now, that 1 catch was a touchdown. That's wonderful. But other than that, he was basically shut out of this game. Chris Godwin had 7 targets, made 4 catches for 34 yards, didn't find the end zone. Antonio Brown only had 3 targets, only 1 catch. And then he had to come out of the game. I think he sat out most of the second half. So I don't know what was going on there. But again, you know, they were playing the Saints. Tough defense. We'll see. Defensively, they played extremely well. Picked off Drew Brees 3 times. They didn't have any sacks, however, and they did recover a fumble. Not getting any sacks, I'm not sure if I'm worried about that or not. For now, I'm going to say I'm not going to worry about that. And their kicker, Ryan Suckup, was 3 for 3. His longest kick was only 37-yarders, so he did his job. Now, they will be playing the Green Bay Packers, who demolished the LA Rams last week, 32-18. The number 1 scoring defense in the postseason, Los Angeles Rams. Okay? Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 36, 296, 2 touchdowns, and he had a 1-yard scramble for a touchdown. He scored 30-plus points. He scored 30-plus points on the league's number 1 scoring defense. Keep that in mind, okay? Because we've been talking about the Tampa Bay defense being really good. But again, when I was talking about points against and how close everybody was, certain defenses are good at certain things. I would say that the Tampa Bay defense is better against the run than they are against the pass. Their secondary is questionable. They've been questionable during the course of the season. They seem to tighten it up coming down the stretch. I don't know. Those guys are young. But Aaron Jones did his thing. He had 14 carries for 99 yards, and he scored a touchdown. Crazy thing is, his legs are going to be nice and fresh because 14 carries isn't much for your number 1 running back. And I don't think he had that many carries the week before either. Jamal Williams, who's his backup, came in. He had 12 carries himself for 65 yards. So they seem to be making sure that their running game is good and intact and everybody's healthy and all that, which is going to be good because what I said about the Tampa Bay defense is they're best against the run. And Aaron Rodgers' offense runs best when the run game is working. So that's important. It seems that they've been looking ahead to this game almost to be prepared for that. Devontae Adams was his usual self, 10 targets. They look at him a lot. He caught 9 balls, 66 yards. He scored a touchdown. And Allen Lazard, young guy who was injured for most of the season, came back during the postseason, started off slow, wasn't doing much, had a big 58-yard touchdown, extremely exciting, pretty much put the game out of reach. Well, the game was already out of reach, but he pretty much sealed it with that play, and he looks 100% healthy, so that's a good thing. Valdez-Scantling, the tight end, Tunyon, they both have multiple receptions and targets. So the passing game is in great shape. All the receivers are participating. Aaron Jones looks good and fresh. The Packers defense had 4 sacks against Jared Goff, and the kicker kicked 2 field goals. His longest one was 39 yards. Obviously, they were moving the ball well. They didn't need to kick any long field goals. All that being said, I think the Packers are the team that are in the best shape all the way around, and I'm going to pick the Packers to win this game. I'm going with the bias. I expect it to be a really good game. I expect Brady to do all that he can. I expect the running game for both teams to do well. But if one team or the other starts to fall behind, I shouldn't say one team or the other. If the Packers go down, I believe they will stick with their run game and they will prevail. If the Buccaneers go down, I believe they will abandon their running game and put everything on Brady, and that could be a bad thing. If that happens, call me genius. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. Pick the Packers.
You were talking about the running backs for Tampa Bay. Ronald Jones, is it?
Yes, sir.
I thought he ran effectively when he ran because he runs violently. He really just, I mean, he's really attacking them guys when he's coming down there. And Fournette, for the size, you know, you think about that for him, but they wanted to throw the ball to him a little bit. He's shaky catching the ball, but he did a better job in this game against the Saints and actually holding on to some of those passes than he did in the previous week. So
well, he's actually I made this comment to some guys while I was watching the game with them. Fournette, when he was at LSU, they hardly ever threw him the ball. I mean, his reception numbers was extremely low. Like they just didn't trust him with the ball. When he came into the pros, obviously he worked on it, and he's pretty reliable, to tell you the truth. Ronald Jones is the guy they don't throw the ball to.
Really?
Yeah, but Fournette has worked on his hands over the years, and he's pretty reliable. So, you know,
he had a better game again in the divisions than he did in the wild card. The wild card. And then the only thing I'll say beyond that is this: before we move to the next game, I think it's kind of interesting in terms of their defense allowing rush yards. Okay.
Who, the Packers?
The Packers and the Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers, in terms of rush yards across the league, and again, this is regular season, okay? This doesn't include the playoffs. It just was easier to find real quick. But Tampa Bay came in at allowing 95 rush yards per game. Green Bay came in allowing 96 rush yards per game.
That's for the season?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Yeah. I expected Green Bay to have given up more than that on average.
So yeah, it's very interesting how close they are, even in terms of something like that. You know what I mean? So
you got to give me the passing yards now. Now you got to give me the average passing yards.
Okay.
Got to.
All right, I'll give you the passing yards. Wow. Well, let me say that Tampa Bay is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eighth on the league basis, giving up 239.5 yards per game. Green Bay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Number 1.
Right.
Giving up 148 yards per game.
Ergo. Now I did not know those numbers, but what did I say? I said both teams run the ball well. Both defenses pretty good against the run. But if somebody's weak against the run, it would be the Packers. Now they're closer than I thought, so I'm a little surprised at that. But the Packers will continue to run if they fall behind. The Bucs will not, and if they don't, they fall right into Green Bay's trap because the strength.
48 yards per game. That's a strength. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. That's craziness. Okay. All right. So you're going with the bias. Going with the Packers. All right. Christopher will be so excited to hear that.
He'll probably be like, of course.
Of course. Naturally.
Packers. Of course he is.
Yeah, that's the ticket. All right. I don't know what there.
What? What's that say? The bias is going with the Buffalo Bills?
Bias plus score 1.7 favors the Bills. Ben, let me tell you this. Let me say this. You're the fantasy guy. I'm the guy that plays Madden, right? And you know, the family gave me a new PS5 for Christmas. So I had to get my game up. And literally, you know, in Madden, in the game, you have different levels. All Madden being the top level. You know, I don't always play at the all Madden level, but you know, and then they have this competitive style, which is what you have to play this style if you want to compete. And I guess the competitions for Madden that they have. So I'm like, okay, so I got to go with it. So I changed over to the style. I'm at the all Madden level. It ain't easy, okay? But playing the Bills is ridiculous. I'm playing with the Niners. I'm beating at least 1 out of 2 games. I was able to beat the Chiefs, okay? But stopping the Bills, I played them one game earlier today. Josh Allen ran for 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I mean, once he starts going, I had a spy on him, but you know what they say when the spy is not fast enough? They usually talk about Lamar when they're saying stuff like this.
Right.
But it's the same thing with him. If your spy isn't fast enough and he gets as you say, if he's even, he's out, and it's tough. They are a tough team. So I'm feeling it. 1.7 bias plus score favors the Bills. Again, when I looked at the internals, the turnover differential actually favored the Chiefs at 0.4, but Bills are 0.3. Not a big differential there. They're both giving up 22.3 points per game. But the difference is in scoring. We talked about that, in the net point ranking portion of the game. Buffalo scoring 33.3, Kansas City scoring 20. So when you add it all up, Buffalo's coming in net points, at a higher level, and consequently they the numbers are what they are. So I thought you would be excited and happy.
Yes, I am. I'm extremely excited and very happy. And I just want to say real quick, since you brought up his name earlier in the program, when Taysom Hill goes to bed at night and dreams, he dreams of being Josh Allen. That's who he wants. He wants to be Josh Allen when he grows up. And believe me, I think the Saints think he can be a Josh Allen. You're going to see, they expect him to be their quarterback when Drew Brees retires. I'm not joking, man. They believe that. They think he's going to be Josh Allen. Now, maybe he'll turn out to be a low-level Josh Allen. Maybe he won't. In which case, I'm sure they'll draft a quarterback this year because I'm pretty sure Brees is getting close to retiring. But yeah, that's how I look at that. So anyway, so the Bills got the bias plus. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. So I tell you what, let's talk about what's on everybody's mind right now, Patrick Mahomes and this concussion thing. Okay, so he's got to go through the concussion protocol, which usually takes about a week. And they have certain criteria that guys got to meet. The first criteria is you have to be clear of all symptoms, okay? Dizziness, blurry vision, headaches, things like that, things of that nature. If you get through that, then the number 2 thing is they give you some kind of aerobic exercise, like they'll make you run, you know what I mean, or do jumping jacks or get on the treadmill or ride a bike or something like that to see if that brings on any dizziness, headaches, things like that. If you have recurring symptoms, then you have to go back to the beginning and go through the protocol again. The third thing is football specific exercise. So they may have you out doing field drills, you know what I mean? Run, change direction, run back, back pedal for a quarterback, things of that nature. Again, as you do each criteria, if in fact you get symptoms, you have to go back to the beginning again. That's why sometimes these guys get concussions and they don't come back for 2 weeks because they can't pass the protocol. Now, number 4 and number 5 are kind of tricky. Number 4 means you're allowed to do non-contact stuff. So that means you can come to practice, but you can't get hit or you can't block, but he's a quarterback. So that's not going to happen anyway because they don't touch quarterbacks in practice. And the 5th thing is contact drills, which again, most quarterbacks don't do in the NFL during the week. So if he can get through the football specific part of this, where he can drop back, change direction, show some footwork, throw the ball, run, and those things, and none of his symptoms come back, he should be fine. In fact, he was reported to be in practice today. Today is Wednesday for us. And, but all he was doing was just throwing passes. He was just, playing catch, so to speak. I don't think he's up to the part where he can do football specific stuff like drop back, change direction, run, things like that. That they may ramp that up tomorrow if in fact he didn't have any symptoms. Now, that's all done. Okay. Let's see. They beat Cleveland 22-17. Close game. Much better game than a lot of people thought it was going to be. Not me. I thought the Browns were going to win. Doggone it. I wish they had, but that's okay. Patrick Mahomes was 21 of 30, 255 yards. He threw for 1 touchdown. He ran the ball 3 times for 14 yards, and he also ran in a touchdown. So that's pretty typical Patrick Mahomes. He's a threat on the ground, threat through the air, no problem. 255 was not a bad day. 21 of 30 is actually a pretty good day. So he was doing well. Now, we know Edwards-Helaire is still injured. He's the number 1 running back. I don't know if he's going to be able to be ready for this week's game, but in his stead, I know a lot of folks were worrying because Le'Veon Bell hasn't been doing well. Basically, I said last week, don't even think about Le'Veon Bell because he just doesn't have it anymore. Now, at least not this season. There's a possibility he could come back maybe next year or something. But right now, he's not getting it done. I don't know if it has anything to do with the way the Chiefs run the ball, but he's not doing well at all. However, Darrell Williams is. Darrell Williams had a really good game, 13 carries for 78 yards. He also caught the ball 4 times for 16 yards. Tyreek Hill had his usual day, 8 catches, 110 yards. However, he did not find the end zone. Not good. Browns defense played pretty well. Travis Kelce had 8 catches also for 109 yards, almost identical numbers to Tyreek Hill, but he did find the end zone. Then, and I get you with this every time, I always say, name the wide receivers for the Chiefs. Mecole Hardman, 4 catches, 58 yards. Byron Pringle, 2 catches, 14 yards. Demarcus Robinson, 1 catch, 14 yards. Not good enough. They got to do better. If Darrell Williams doesn't get off or Clyde Helaire doesn't come back and have his usual, it's going to be a problem for the Chiefs. Now, the Bills handled Baltimore 17-3. I expected that to be a close game. It was a close game. It was a good game for a while, but after a while, the Bills kind of really exerted their dominance. It was obvious that Baltimore was having trouble finding the end zone. In fact, they never did. All they did was kick a field goal. Lamar ended up getting a concussion and having to go out. It was a mess. It's really a mess. They're going to have to retool some things there in Baltimore. But
they had some very untimely poor snaps that really put them in difficult positions, first and second, and really long. And that happened more than once in the game. And then
was it the starting center?
I don't know if it was the starting center. I think it was actually, and I mean, let's face it, they keep questioning Lamar throwing the ball, but you get a snap that goes 10 yards behind you, now you're second and an extra 10, 19 and all of that. So it really, I think, really hurt them. And then naturally when he got hurt and he's out, what was it? Hunley? Is that his name that came in for them?
Yeah, they had no chance once he came in. He's the 4th string quarterback. Come on. The guy shows some physical talent, but let's face it. You know what I mean? They were probably wishing they had McSorley, but now a team that's in the pistol or a shotgun 95% of the time should not have trouble with bad snaps. not multiple bad snaps in one game. That's not supposed to happen. So the first thing that comes to my mind is that whoever was playing over that center's head was giving him the business. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. The guy's giving him the business. He's trying to get the snap back there so he can get a jump on this guy and get his hands on him and try to block him and lock him up. And those things happen. You know, you rush it, you snap it high, you snap it left or right. The quarterback's running around trying to find it. That's part of the name of the game, you know. But anyway, we're talking about Josh Allen. So he's 23 of 37, 206 yards, 1 touchdown. The Ravens didn't allow, now, it's a good thing about the Ravens defense. They didn't allow any long balls. And, you know, Josh Allen can crank it up. He's got a strong arm and he likes to go deep, especially if he can get, well, not Cole Beasley so much, but if he can get John Brown or Stephon Diggs on a deep ball, he'll try it. But the Ravens pretty much covered that up. So what did he do? He adjusted. He ran the ball a little bit. And he threw the short and the intermediate. So Stephon Diggs, 11 targets, great for number 1 receiver, caught 8 balls, 106 yards, caught a touchdown. Comebacks, scramble drill stuff, you know, he run his route, oh, he's scrambling, bloop, breakaway, boom, okay, beautiful. That's what a number 1 receiver is supposed to do. And he scored a touchdown on, I believe it was like a flanker screen or something. So, and that was pretty much a walk-in. Like, it was a very well-designed play. Now, the Bills' running game has gone from okay to better to back to okay to almost non-existent. It's kind of weird. And knowing what I know and what I believe about football, that would scare me, except for the fact that Josh Allen is so good on the ground. It's almost like, again, like the Ravens, like they can't settle on a number 1 running back. They're kind of okay, and then this guy excels, and then he drops back, and then J.K. Dobbins starts to go, and then Gus Edwards. But they always have Lamar, so it doesn't matter. Well, the Bills are kind of like that too. So Zach Moss is hurt. Singletary's all they got. I don't even think he had a carry in the first half. But he had 7 carries in the second half for 25 yards. What's that, 3 point something per carry? And he caught the ball 3 times for 12 yards. Not much. But when Stephon Diggs goes for 106 and a touchdown, John Brown goes 8 catches for 62 yards. Dawson Knox, a tight end that nobody really believed in. I thought he was a blocking tight end. He caught 2 balls for 18 yards. You know, their offense is clicking, and it showed when we did the net point power rankings and we did the points for category. Buffalo finds the end zone. They move the ball, they find the end zone, and it doesn't matter how they need to do it, they get it done. Their defense.
Can I mention, in support of what you just said, I just looked at some statistics here. Buffalo in this postseason is only averaging 64 yards per game rushing.
That is correct.
You know, the Packers are averaging like 188.
Yeah, most of that is Josh. But his runs are timely runs.
He's smart. His savvy level has really risen this year.
Yes. He knows when to hold him, knows when to fold him. You know what I mean? He knows when to take off. He knows when to slide. He doesn't get hurt. He gets to the boundary. He gets the ball out for the first down, runs out of bounds. The kid is really, really smart, man, and he's got full control of that offense and obviously knows what he's doing. And again, we talked about their defense. 4 sacks, 1 interception. That interception happened to be a pick 6. Tyler Bass, their kicker, had a tough day. Since I've been mentioning kickers for the last couple of weeks, he only made 1 out of 3 field goals, and that was a 28-yarder. So I don't know what was up with that, but
that's for who is he with?
Buffalo.
Kicking, I was thinking, is going to. It always seems to be an issue when you have these really closely matched up teams. It's a field goal or 2 that makes a big difference.
Right. So he picked a bad day not to have a good day. He picked a bad, but I understand the weather wasn't the greatest up there. I don't know if they had high winds or not. That would be my first thought, because I know it was seriously cold.
You know, it scares me because, I mean, if it's one team who've had heartbreak at missed kicks in field goals, I mean, excuse me, in Super Bowls, it's the Bills.
Yes. No, don't. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, one of those Super Bowl trophies is in my house, you know. But I'm pulling for the Bills right now, so I'm picking Buffalo to beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl. I'm taking Buffalo. I have been with Buffalo last year. I was with Buffalo at the beginning of the season. I've talked about Buffalo all season long. I cannot get off of it. That's the one team that I've been riding all year. I didn't even pick an NFC favorite, but the Bills have been my AFC favorite, and now here they are. They're ready to cash it in. I'm going with them.
So you know what the Bias Plus report has just done? It actually has picked the Super Bowl.
Yes, it has.
And according to the Bias Plus, we would be looking at the Bills and the Packers. We will break that game down in due time, assuming that it actually happens that way. The good thing about where we are now, last week, the Bias Plus was 75%. We can be no worse than 50%.
Right.
Or is that possible? Could I lose? I guess we could lose both games. The Packers could get upset and the Bills could get upset. That could happen.
It could happen.
Ooh, especially as close as these games are. You know what I mean? I mean, as close as these Bias Plus reports are. So, okay, yeah. All right. So you went with the bias in both cases.
Yeah, unfortunately. I'll tell you, I'm surprised. I was a little bit surprised. I don't look at the numbers as closely as you do. In my mind, I'm thinking the Chiefs were going to be favored. But then, you quickly reminded me that, let's face it, down the stretch, they haven't been pulling away from anybody. They haven't been putting up big numbers, and Buffalo actually has. So I can see where they, would have the advantage.
You mentioned Pat Mahomes relative to the concussion protocol, but I didn't hear you mention his foot injury.
Yes, he's got a toe.
And I'll be quite honest with you. Before he had the concussion last week, it looked like it was affecting him. There were some throws that were a little off in accuracy. When he walked a little funny. He walks a little funny anyway, but it was a little funnier than normal. I don't know if he's pigeon-toed or what it is, but if you're pigeon-toed and have an injured toe, I'm sure that doesn't help at all. But there's something didn't look right about him. So that's something to keep an eye on for the upcoming game.
It's significant enough that when you look him up, it says concussion/toe. Okay, that's in all the reports. So everybody knows about it, but they just talk about the concussion. They never mention the toe. And obviously he can't test the toe until he gets to that part of the protocol that allows him to run and move around. So yeah, we'll see.
He might not have the concussion if not for the toe.
That's a thought. Oh, that guy really bulldogs him, though, man.
Yeah, well, he normally runs around people. He normally has a level of nimbleness, and he slid really awkwardly head first. When he
the guy caught him from behind and got him in like a chokehold, and then drove him down this way.
Yeah,
they both went down head first.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, he got. But I'm just saying. He normally doesn't get tackled like that when he's running healthily. And the funny thing, they later disproved it, but there was some talk about whether or not his carotid artery had been depressed, and some MMA guys saying that that's a quick way to blank a person out.
Somebody else.
You
Yes.
know what I mean? But the person, the MMA person said, no, I think he got his bell rung, you know. But the
Yeah.
thing is, I didn't see a clean hit on him.
It wasn't a clean hit.
So that was the weird part about the concussion. You know, I didn't see a clean hit. Now I think maybe his head hit the ground a little bit.
The guy grabbed him around the neck, his head was here, and took him down head first. So both players went down head first, and because the guy had him around this way, obviously his head didn't hit, but right here on the ground.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, it's a shorter show when you only have 2 games, Mr. Dickerson.
Yeah, but these are going to be 2 games. You know, conference championship games are usually the best games of the season, because
that's why we always get together on Championship Sunday.
That's right. We do normally.
Maybe we'll have to do a Zoom get together, man. You know what I mean?
Talk to the fellas.
Bring all the guys together. And yeah, man, I'll buy the beer for my house.
Now I'll buy the beer for my house.
You know what I mean? Everybody had their own bottle. Cheers, you know. But hey, it's what you got to do nowadays, you know, at least for a little while, man. And at the end of the Bias Plus report, we generally celebrate the previous week's Bias Plus Buster of the Week. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Boo. It ain't no real Buster.
An unfavorable Bias Plus score of 0.7. So it was close.
You shouldn't even give it to him for that 0.7. What's the challenge?
And they won by 10. And since they were the only underdog to win, you got to give it to them.
Okay, it was impressive that they won by 10. I'll give them that.
There you go. You know, one of the things I'm looking at, Tampa Bay, who's the young guy who caught the interceptions, and all of a sudden now he's being touted as the hot D-back for Tampa Bay?
Devin White?
Is it Devin?
I think so.
And I'm hearing a lot more talk from him all of a sudden.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk.
The ego, I'm hearing ego stuff coming from him. So this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out when they go up against Aaron Rodgers and those guys, because they will pop your egos. You're not careful. You got to watch out for that guy. Bias Plus Buster score of 10.7. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All righty now. So in this part of the show, Ben, this is where we wrap up with final commentary, talk about a few current events, some people things that we like to talk about, because football is life, which is our hashtag, and some awesome things are happening. I'm going to share our Instagram page. We normally share our Facebook page, Ben, but we're going to share the Instagram page where you can see a few different things going on. Now, before we do Sarah Thomas, let me just go back. I posted this. I don't see Mahomes coming back to this game. He looks like he caught a Muhammad Ali left.
Yo, if you ever heard the expression rubber legs,
yes,
you saw it there.
Oh man, I'm telling you. And you, at that point, concussion protocol is automatic. You can't deny anything. You know, it's like. But he ran pretty good down the little tunnel thing. Like, I'm good. And I think they had to talk to him, tell him, no, you ain't going back in the game. But so
yeah, they're being extra careful nowadays, and I don't blame them. Even Andy Reid said, like, back in the day, so to speak, he probably would have come back in if he was able to run down the tunnel, down a set of stairs.
Right.
And down the tunnel like that, then he was probably okay at the moment. The problem they found is with concussions is the longer term effects. Okay. You might snap out of your grogginess and still not be 100% there. So to the naked eye, you would look like you're okay when in fact you're not. So, you know, they have to look out for that guy. You got to protect the players against themselves.
We had 2 mobile quarterbacks go down injured last week. One is worth $500 million. And the other one, I don't know what Lamar's contract looks like. But we were back in that situation where your backup, what did you say he was, a 4th string? Actually,
Yep.
I think they just signed him to a futures contract off of the practice squad. I think they might have liked what they saw in Hundley a little bit. I thought he, like you said, he looked talented. You know, you wouldn't expect him to come in and be able to sync up automatically in that offense and all that kind of stuff. That takes so much time and so many reps.
Especially in a game of that magnitude where he wasn't expected to play. I could see like a week 17 matchup. You know, we're going to get you some time, young fella, you know, in a game that doesn't really matter. That's one thing. But in a game of that magnitude where you're not expecting to play at all, and then all of a sudden somebody's saying, yo, grab your helmet, that's tough.
That's tough. That's tough. All right, now we're sharing. We're looking at the page. I'm going to try this, Ben, because, again, this is one of the people that you like.
Yeah, right. That's the kid that got the interception.
Yeah. Didn't have a great combine. Kind of tripped up a little bit.
Looks okay to me. That's called football speed.
That's called football speed right there, you know? I mean, just think, oh, got hit upside the head, man, you know?
You know, most DBs don't work on the jugs gun very much, I don't think. So running down the line, catching passes like that are being fired at you, even though they're firing, they don't use jugs gun in the combine. I think they line up quarterbacks or coaches or something and throw the ball at you. But still, that's not, you know, that's a receiver drill, tell you the truth.
I just thought it was fun.
Cut him some slack.
For sure. Let me see here. We have something else that I want to share. Here we go. Let's get to it. This is history that's going to be made in the Super Bowl. Sarah Thomas will be the first woman to officiate a Super Bowl. So, any last words on that?
I notice her quite a bit. She's kind of got a distinct build, and she always has the long blonde ponytail in the back. So when she's in a game, you kind of spot her. You know what I mean? I've seen her make some really emphatic calls. I've seen her be around the ball and hustling on plays. She's obviously a really good referee, and I'm sure she's earned it.
All right. Congratulations on that. That is really awesome. Last but not least, Benny, Bills Mafia and the Bills. Let's just show this video real quick. Josh Allen giving Lamar Jackson a little bit of love, man, after he got injured, you know. And football is such a brotherhood, you know what I mean? That even when you're on opposite teams and, you know, if you see the other team may get hurt, guys take a knee and, you know, they pray for each other and all of that kind of stuff. But the other part of it is the Bills Mafia, who has raised a ton of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars for Lamar Jackson's nonprofit. You shaking your head? Yeah, tell me what you know about it.
This is crazy, man. These Bills Mafia fans, I mean, they were known as a pretty motley crew. And when they gave all the money to for Josh Allen's grandmother that passed,
right?
And all that, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that's their man. You know what I mean? When I heard about this, I was like, boy, these people, this is something else here. he's got a charity that pretty much has a food program for kids who are unable to get to school because of COVID. You know, and most school programs have the free breakfasts and sometimes free lunch. And some of these kids, that's all the meals they eat. You know what I mean? So if kids that are in need because they're unable to go to school, in need of food or supplies, school supplies, as much as whatever you use when you're doing school from home, his charity provides that. And the Bills Mafia has thrown money into that too. These people are like, man, you gotta love them. I mean, they're known for squirting ketchup and mustard on each other and diving through tables. They climb up on the top of their cars and dive through tables and and all this. That's what people know them for. But they are quite the group of folks, I gotta say. Really nice. Really nice.
Awesome. Well, Ben, before we wrap up, I just want to say a couple things. Number one, today is Inauguration Day for the new President Biden and Vice President Harris. Congratulations to them both. And best of wishes with all of the challenges, the monumental challenges that they're taking on head first. And I just want to, wish them the best, that we can get beyond this existing pandemic and begin to move back towards some level of normalcy, and that everybody is able to handle some of the economic impact of what's going on. He signed a ton of executive orders, so things that were a little weird in the universe in terms of foreign relations and things like that are going to get straightened out. We're going to join the National Climate Accords. We're going to look to get back within the international brotherhoods out there and operate more so cooperatively than what we had been. So glad to see it. Fantastic. Before we also go off, I do want to mention we are on YouTube, so please click the subscribe button and the bell so that you'll get notifications when we release new videos automatically. So that's all for me. Mr. Dickerson, what do you have to finish us off with?
Okay, really quickly, I think I mentioned it last week. I just returned back from Winter Haven, Florida, where I attended the 2021 UFFL Flag Football National Championships. And I was, in fact, coaching a team down there. It was the 35 and over team, the old heads as we call it. But there were also several PTTFL teams from Philly or played in PTTFL that went down and played in a few different divisions. Real quick, and let me tell you something. They had to use 2 parks for all of this. They had 4-on-4, 5-on-5, 6-on-6, 7-on-7, 7-on-7 screen, 8-man women's division. The women have a 7-on-7, I think. They had co-ed, they had kids. There was a zillion trillion people down there. It was huge. It was fantastic. One park had a whole bunch of fields, and one park, they were grass fields. And grass in Florida isn't great because they got a lot of sand. But the other park had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 beautiful turf fields. Beautiful, great facility, really, really nice. So let me just say this real fast. In the 8-man division, Division 3, teams from the PTTFL, there were 32 teams in Division 3. The Delaware Highlanders came in 31st. They play in the PTTFL. The Philly Chargers came in 20th. The TNT Outlaws, which is the team that a lot of Knowles are on and that your son actually coached, because I didn't coach him. Chris coached them. They came in 12th out of 32. And this is their first big tournament.
Did Chris play or just coach?
No, he coached. I don't think he played.
I gotta talk to this guy. You didn't tell me that.
He didn't tell you that? Oh yeah. I mean, he may have played because I didn't see all their games because, like I said, you got to move around. There's a lot of fields and different times that you have to play, so it's hard to keep a schedule for two teams, let alone one. You know what I mean? So, but he may have played somewhere along the line. I don't know. In Division II, let's see. Somebody was into the Tri-State Bullies, who are actually from Delaware but do play in the PTTFL. They were in Division II. There were 27 teams. They came in 13th.
Nice.
I don't think we had anybody else in Division II. No, we did not. Okay, in Division I, we had two teams. Now, Division I is what we used to call the A division back when I had the Philly Noles and the Road Warriors. We always played in the A division. That's now considered Division I. Okay, PTTFL had two teams in Division I, NWO and the UT Falcons. I'm sorry, the UT Falcons. And how crazy am I? The UT Cobras. Okay, NWO. Now there were 20 teams in Division I. This is the top level of the most exciting flag game there is out there. I like 9-man too, but 8-man eligible is probably the #1 flag football game. And this is the top level, the top division. And out of 20 teams, NWO came in 10th and the UT Cobras came in third.
Third.
And I'm telling you, they got a lot of respect around the flag football world. They came down there stacked. They were stacked, bro. This sideline was loaded. They're young, they're fast. The two teams that beat them, STV, which I'm not sure what that stands for. That's a team from Ohio, really good team. And All Stars United is a team from Maryland that I think grew out of a team called Brothers AC, which is a team that my teams used to compete against when we went down to Maryland all the time. They would come up here and play. We would go down there, kind of had a home and home thing. Man, I tell you what, I haven't seen this much speed live, not on television, not watching the pros, live right there in front of my face in a long time, bro. These kids are fast out here. I thought we had some fast guys when we were playing. This is a whole different kind of speed, bro. I know what else I wanted to mention. STV runs something in their offense where they have the quarterback, right? And then they take a receiver and put him out wide and back behind the quarterback so that if he doesn't throw the ball downfield, he can then turn and throw it to the other guy to buy more time because of the pass rush, and then he can throw it. So the game starts. They're playing the Cobras, UT Cobras from Philly. He throws the ball over to the other guy. So now he's on the sideline where we're standing watching. He's about, if we're right on the sideline, he's about 5 to 7 yards away from us. He's really close to the sideline. He throws a pass across the field to the other sideline, okay? It wasn't really down. It was only maybe 5 yards downfield. It was almost a lateral, like a forward lateral.
Really?
He fired. The Cobras picked it off, but I'm telling you, man, this dude, who tries to make a throw like that? He saw receiver. He threw the ball. That's a football field is 50-something yards wide. He threw a eye level frozen rope all the way to the other sideline. I'm like, what? Wait, he's not the starting quarterback.
He's a receiver, right?
He's a receiver. Then I'm gonna get off of this after this because I could tell you stories, okay? But this is the last one. The same dude, he throws it to him. He's over on our side. He cranks up and throws a bomb. and a guy runs a what I call an over route. Tyreek Hill runs them a lot, where he'll start on one side of the field and run deep to the opposite corner. So it's not a post, okay? It's a straight like that on an angle toward the corner of the opposite end zone, and completed it for a touchdown. And the boy caught it either on the goal line or in the end zone. And I looked at the guy standing near me, and then I looked down for the cone, and he threw it from the 25-yard line.
What? To the end zone?
75 yards in the air. Friggin' spiral.
Holy mackerel. What?
Dude, I never seen. No.
Did you get his autograph? Genie Christmas.
Holy man, there was athletes down there galore, bro. Athletes down there galore.
Wow.
And he's not the starter.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, right?
He's a receiver. Oh, unbelievable. But anyway, enough of that. Great weekend. Great weekend.
Congratulations on your trip. That it sounds like an absolutely amazing trip.
Oh, I didn't tell you about 35 and over. We came in fourth.
Oh, pretty good. Out of how many?
12.
Okay, not bad. Top 30. Nice. Congratulations. All right. 35 and over. You know, I texted my son and I said, when I heard he was going down there, I said, "Are you playing with the 35 and over?" He started laughing. He's like, maybe next year.
Yeah, he's getting close.
He's about there. So that's awesome. Fantastic. Transactions. That was one of the things that I wanted to kind of just talk about a little bit. I think the one transaction that hit the wire that I definitely want to mention was Mark Ingram being cut by the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
You know, if anybody was the biggest Lamar Jackson fan and promoter, it was Mark Ingram.
Big trust.
So, you know, that was probably one of the bigger ones. There's been a few. Do you have anything to say about any of the coaching or GM changes before we go?
I heard Mr. Bieniemy is getting another interview with the Houston Texans. I tell you what, they don't want to lose Deshaun, so they're trying to do whatever they can to keep Deshaun. He has not yet uttered the words, "I want to be traded." So there's an opportunity for them to salvage that relationship. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we'll see. You know, I mean, this whole coaching thing, man, and the whole Rooney Rule thing and all that stuff, these teams are still looking for holes in it. So, but somebody did get rewarded. Your defensive coordinator, Saleh.
Robert Saleh.
He is now with the
Jets.
Okay. Tough job for him, by the way. He's got a lot of balls taking that job, I'll tell you that. But the Jets were rewarded for hiring him as a minority.
The Niners were rewarded.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. The Jets were rewarded for hiring him.
The weird part is this Rooney Rule thing also rewards the team that you come from.
Oh, really? See, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it's so weird, this new setup, and we'll talk a little bit.
Then.
Huh?
It's good that they reward both teams because that's more incentive. Like they really want to do this.
Right. No doubt about it.
Like draft picks or something.
Yeah, and again, he's a guy that they're speaking so highly of as such a. Now this is the funny part. Such a contrast to Gase, their outward coach. Now, answer this question. Why would the Seahawks want Gase as their offensive coordinator?
I have no clue.
And you know that your safety hates the guy. You know that your safety ran from the Jets to get to you.
Well, did they lose their offensive coordinator? Did their offensive coordinator get another job?
I don't know, but of all the options in the world,
yeah, I got to do some research.
Look into that, and we'll talk about that next time up. Okay, wrapping up Ben and Barry on football. Mr. Dickinson, any last words?
My only last words are the Nationals is over, so everybody's back home safely. I'm happy about that, and I'm hoping that the PTTFL will be able to resume playing again. And when they do, go Noles.